All right, so this is the Supplemental Essay Workshop Take 2. I hope that it's recording, and I hope that you all can come find me here. I'm going to try, while I'm sitting here just like waiting for people to show up, I'm going to try to go put a message on the old one, on the old Supplemental Essay Workshop Take 1. And see if we can kind of get going here. So sorry about that. Let's see. Okay. So here I am looking through my old ones. I'm going to try to find it. Okay, that's take 2. Supplemental essays, take 1. Let's see. I'm going to leave a message there. Oh, good. Some people found me. Great. All right. Yay. So you found me here. Thank you, Omar. Hi, Potionless Corrupt. I'm glad you found me. How do you think I can let the other people know that that old link isn't working? Y'all have any suggestions there about that so that they can, like, I'm trying to figure out how to send a message about that right now. So let's see. Okay. Chat messages. A new Reddit post. Okay. Or edit the link. Oh, in the Reddit post? Yeah, that's okay. I'm trying to figure out how to get to that yeah. Okay, y'all have great ideas. Anybody want to help me with this? Maybe make a comment on the old video. That would be great if one of y'all could do that so we can get going faster and you don't have to wait. Looks like we have 5 people now, so maybe people are finding us. Yeah, I'm trying. Okay, let me get to that old video. How do I do that? Let's see. I am so tech unhappy, like tech not able to do this. And I usually have Carly here helping me with this. And of course, today is the one day. Okay. So give me 1 second. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to put a comment on the old post. And then I'll change the edits for people that want to go watch it later. Okay. I think I got it. Thank you so much for being so patient. Y'all are amazing. Okay, let's see if I can get this to work. Of course, my computer's not wanting to cooperate. All right. Thank you. Okay. Oh, thank you, Omar. You made a new stream link. Thank you. All right, let me just copy his link. All right. Okay. Thank you, Omar. That was awesome. All right, let's start. Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday. Good morning. Thank you for your patience. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you for bearing with me as I try to do technological things all by myself. You wouldn't believe that it took me 8 years to even figure out how to use Reddit. I think, well, that's an exaggeration, maybe 7 years. All right, so today we're talking about the supplemental essays. But before we get started too far, I'd love to know where you are in the world. It kind of just helps me. So I'll let you know where I am and I'll introduce myself. I'll kind of start over. Hi, I'm Admissions Mom. I'm also Carolyn. I'm really, really happy to have you guys here. I know I talk to you a lot on Reddit or on Instagram or maybe just in DMs, wherever you find me, or by email. You guys are great. I'm so impressed by your initiative and the way that you figure out how you're going to go about this college admissions journey. And that's why I want to be here and giving you as much information as I possibly can. So a couple of things. Can you tell me where you're from? Country, state, city, wherever you feel comfortable. Cool. So Omar, you're in Maryland. So you're going to be here for a month. Awesome. But you're normally from Cairo. Love it. Atlanta, Georgia. Love that city. Really nice. Anyone else want to share where they are? Sven, is that you? SV, is that you, Sven from, let's see, who else? Who else do we have here? Southeast Asia, Atlanta, Georgia. Anybody else want to share where you're from before we keep moving on? Frankie, I'm so glad you had your notifications on too. Yemen, Albania, love it. Very cool. I think we're pretty much covering the globe here, it looks like. So we've got a couple of people here in the US with me, and the rest of you are just kind of like all over. So thank you very much for joining. I have no idea what time it is for you, but I hope it's not a horrific time. And if you could also now just toss in the chat a few of the colleges that you're thinking about writing your supplements for, that you're thinking about applying to. We'll be going over specific questions at the end. There'll be plenty of time for that, for you to talk about your supplemental essays. But it just kind of helps me to get an idea of like where the breadth of colleges you're applying to and what kind of essays they have. So while you're thinking about, like, just toss in the chat, like, where you're thinking about you're going to apply to college. All right. Then we've got I was going to share that. A Cornell and UMich. Frankie says, thank you for doing it at a good time for Europe and Asia as well. Most colleges have seminars at like 1 a.m. here. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying really hard to find a time that can be happy, good time for nearly everyone, but it's almost impossible, as you know. So I'm glad it works for you, Frankie. All right. Oregon, Brown, Dartmouth, Wesleyan, Bowdoin. Nice. Well, I love that range of colleges, and you honestly have some of my very favorite colleges on that list. Okay. Anybody else? Amherst, Swarthmore, Princeton, Colgate. Nice. Definitely got the intellectual thing going on there, don't you? Good job. Anybody else want to throw theirs out there for us? And so those of you, if you have put your colleges out there, if you don't mind just like tossing in, and I want you to be thinking about colleges like this, the supplements like this anyway, we'll be doing this a lot, of like, why college, why major, why extracurricular, or more about your extracurricular, community essay, leadership essay, like which ones are you finding that you're going to have the most of? Purdue and UIUC are you're planning to that have supplements? Good job, Omar. So how many of you have, how many of you have why college essays to write? You haven't even started. Good for you. You know what? There's no rush here. You've got time. Even if you're doing early decision and early action, you have time. The ones that kind of feel a little bit rushy to me right now are the rolling colleges. And the only reason I feel a little rushed about these for most rolling colleges is just because it's really nice to get some acceptances in. So Potion Less Corrupt has some YS and Y major here. Good. I call YS, Y college. I kind of see them as the same thing. Let's see. Amen. Bowdoin, Dartmouth, Reed, Kenyon, Swarthmore, Colgate, Hamilton. Great list. I hope you got a few safeties on there, though. Little surefire safeties to get you through. All right. So I have to get my slideshow ready to go. Brown, Dartmouth, Wesleyan kind of have Y college essays. Let me get this going here. I hope that's, yeah. Okay. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. I want to see. Oh my God. Eamon has 80 essays. Whoa, that is a lot. I hope you're being very, very organized. Amen. And I hope I said your name right. Please forgive me if I did not. Brown, Dartmouth, Wesleyan have white college, like 4 colleges that have white SSA, but most of them have an extracurricular essay as well. All right, well, let's just get started. Let's start talking about supplemental essays and figure out what's going on with them. So I put this in here, this little quote in here from Cheryl Strayed, who's one of my favorite authors. She wrote the book Wild, that was the movie. Yeah, I'm going to show you how to research Potionless Scrub. She wrote the movie. She wrote the book that they made the movie Wild about. Anyway, she's great. And so I think this is important for you to remember. 8 of the 10 things you have decided about yourself at the age of 20 will over time prove to be false. I don't know where she got that data, but it's a good thought. Trust yourself, forgive yourself, be grateful. We do not have the right to feel helpless. I think you kind of do, but I do agree with what she says. We must help ourselves. After destiny delivers what it delivers, we are responsible for our lives. I wanted to bring that to you because you guys are such a perfect example of that. You are taking responsibility for your lives. You are figuring out how to go about this college admissions journey, how to work through it, what needs to be done to get organized, to make your way through it. And I'm just so impressed with you. And I just wanted to show you that. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're all going to take a big, deep breath. So I'm going to sit back in my chair here because I need a big, deep breath after my big technological mess up that I did right at the beginning. So I want you just to take a minute, and you might think this is silly, but it's just so important throughout college admissions. And if you follow me on Reddit or Instagram or read my blog or wherever you found me, this is important to me. So I don't think it'll be a surprise, but it's really important to just take a minute and to settle. Right now, you've got, and I just kind of created it. We've got this snow globe of supplemental essays. Have you ever seen a snow globe? You shake it up and the snow goes everywhere and then it settles down, right? And so we've got all these supplemental essays just going around, blah, 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 all over. Why college? Why us? Why major? Why extracurricular? What about your independent? Why are you independent? And all these things. What about your roommate and everything around there? And we're going to just take a minute and breathe and try to settle the snow globe for just a second before we shake it all up again as we talk about the essay. So I want everybody to do a really big inhale. And when you're inhaling, I want you to kind of feel it going into your belly and count to 5. And so we're going to inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then just exhale, let it out. A big one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do it one more time. So breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you for bearing with me for that. I do think it's super important to take a minute. We have so many things going on in college admissions. The process, the journey, the experience of it all, I feel is an amazing personal journey for you. But I know it's stressful and I know it's overwhelming. And if you ever start feeling like that snow globe is just going crazy and the snow is going all over the place and you can't focus, if you just give yourself literally just 1 minute to sit and settle and breathe, it can help. I promise. So I just wanted to include that in there. Amen. Thank you for letting me know I pronounced your name just right. And I'm so glad you're being organized because 80 essays is a lot. That's a lot of snow globes shaking up around in there. All right. So let's just talk about what is the point of all of the essays? Every supplemental essay. What is the point of it? Why are they asking me all of these questions, right? And so the number one reason, in my opinion, is that they want you to paint a picture of yourself on their campus. They need to be able to see you on their campus. They want to see who you are, what you have done before now, and how you're going to take who you are and what you have done and bring it to their campus. That is really like every time you're writing one of these essays, that's the message you're getting across. So these essays involve two really big important things. They involve digging in and learning more about yourself, just like you have to do for the personal essay. What is it that I'm bringing to their campus? What's important to me? What am I going to share with them? What do they need to know about me? And then who that person is and how it's going to fit on their campus. This is why this is so essential and important, because if you don't do the research on both ends to get to know about you and who you are, and to get to know about them and who they are, you don't really know if you're going to be a good match, and you're not going to show that in your essays. So you have to do figuring out about your own self and then figuring out about their campus. So each of these essays requires research about what they offer you and what you're going to bring them. In my opinion, these essays can often be way more important than the personal essay. They're asking these specific questions for a reason. They have taken the time to think about what they want to ask you, and they know what it is that they're looking for on their campus. And they want to know that you've taken the time to figure out what they're looking for, because they tell you in their websites. So they want to know that you're a person, that you're a human, that you're not just the test taking that you're going to show on your transcript, or the grade making that you're going to show on your transcript, or the EC doing making that you're going to show on your Common App. The machine. You are a human. And what can you bring to them on their campus? So, Potentialist says, what if my ECs aren't impressive for my major and I have nothing to write about? We are going to definitely talk about that later. And if I don't get to it, I want you to come back and ask me again at the end when I open up for questions. Okay, Potionless? Omar, thank you. Thank you. So let's just keep moving on here. So here's something you might not know about the supplements, and that the colleges like to hide supplements. I don't know if you've encountered this yet, as you've been organizing them, but they don't always put them in the writing section. Sometimes they put them in the form of questions with 250 word essay, 250 word responses, or 300 word responses. So be sure you're looking through the activity section and hit continue. Don't just jump. So hit continue, hit continue, hit continue. When you see that little box and it says 250 words, that's an essay. So be sure you're getting those. They can hide them in activities. They can hide them in academics, especially after you have picked your major. I know some colleges, like, you pick engineering and suddenly you have like, oh, there's an engineering essay that I didn't know about because I hadn't done that part. So make sure you look through those really, really carefully. So as you're organizing your essays, and we're going to be talking about that, go through the entire Common App step by step by step and hit continue. Don't just jump around. And then and I'll just leave that one here. So get organized. So this is really important. And I'm going to talk about this before we even get into the specific essays. Set up a system. The system that I really like that my students use is we make one Google Doc folder called Supplemental Essays. And then within that folder, we have a bunch of different folders. And I'm going to show you an example in a second. So you're going to have folders for each college. So within that college, you're going to copy and paste the word count in the prompt. Do not ever write straight into the application. Make sure you write on a Word doc or a Google Doc or whatever you want, and then have a spreadsheet. I'm going to share, let's see, how do I share my screen? Let's see, share. I want to just share with you what it kind of looks like. So share screen here. I think it's this one. No, it's this one. Okay. I'm going to do window. Okay, let's see if I can figure this out without messing up too much. Okay. And now I'm just going to do the whole screen because I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, here. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. No, that's the wrong screen. I'll put it over here. Can you see my screen? that says supplemental essay, workshop resources? Yeah, you can, because I can see that you can see it. Okay. So I'm going to be looking down because, sorry. Okay, so you have this supplemental essay folder. I made a sample one. So like I made just like made up colleges' names. Oops. So, and then you just make a folder. So East Coast Cute College. Oh my God, what is going on? Why can't I do this? Okay, so East Coast Cute College, Stanford U, my home state, West Coast LAC. And then like within the college, what I have my students do is, I thought it was in there, but then within that you make a document. Maybe it's in here. I made one document as a sample, but of course it's not going to show up. And maybe it's in here. Nope. And maybe I didn't make it and save it. Anyway, you just copy and paste from the Common App the prompt and the word count. I'm just curious now and see if it's in here. And if it's not, then, oh, yay, look, I just put it under the wrong one. So then Stanford, and then I made up a prompt because I think it's the prompt they should ask. Your life is important to us, and we don't want you to worry about a thing. Just tell us anything at all that you care about. Nothing is too big or too small. No judgment. And I said 1,250 words just to be ridiculous. But anyway, you just copy and paste the prompts right in there, and then you have it all. I suggest doing all of that before you even start writing. Like, to me, this is essential. The other thing that I wanted to show you while I'm here is to get organized with a spreadsheet. And I will be willing, and I will share all of this with you if you want it. And I probably have shared it with you already if you've looked through my posts. But anyway, I use this spreadsheet with my students. We put the name of the college here. There's all sorts of other stuff that you could do. But if you go in here, this part, you'll see like the essay part. And because my computer is moving slow right now, I don't know if I can. Yeah, there we go. Oh, maybe. Anyway, you'll see that like there's the different essays that you can do. And then I just kind of like, I like to have my students know how many Y college essays they have, how many extracurricular essays they have, background, identity, community, Y major, and then they just put the word count. Then we take that and we move over, and I will share this document with you. You are free to have it anytime you want. And then we kind of get organized here with the essays they have to do, and then we kind of mark off as we get them done. That I feel like is really helpful. I'm going to stop sharing that screen now and come back. I'll be back there eventually. Okay, so now I'm going to come back and share this one. So that's the kind of getting organized thing. Now let's just talk about the individual essays, and we're going to be talking about them one by one. You're free to ask questions about that essay that I'm talking about at the time, and then at the end, we can talk about any essays you want. I think we'll even have time for specific. But the one that it seems like comes up the most is the Y college essay, the YS essay. The word count varies. Sometimes it's 100 words, which can be tricky. And sometimes it's 600 words. So like really you have to kind of like be ready to like really think and do your research again about yourself and about the college. The most important thing to remember about a Y college essay is, in my mind, what it really is why you on our campus essay. It's just about as much about you as it is in the college. Why do they need you on their campus? What are you bringing to their campus? In this essay, if there's any sentence that is not either about specifically about you, if it could be about any other student, it needs to go away. And if it could be about any other school, it needs to go away. Like any sentence that could fit another school and another student should not be in that essay. If you kind of read it and when you're editing and thinking about that, that'll really be very helpful to you as you're thinking about what to take out. I love to borrow this essay, this idea from College Essay Guide, where you take a sheet of paper, you fold it in half. On one side, you put like all the groovy, wonderful things about me. And then on the other side, you put all the groovy, wonderful things about this college. And then like, where do you match up? Like what makes you even want to go to this college? If you're not finding good places that match up, either you haven't done your research or you haven't done enough in-depth thinking about yourself, or it's probably not a great match for you. Maybe it's not a good fit for you. So maybe you need to take that school off your list and think about another school. This is why this is so important to be thinking about before you do it. And this is why colleges want you to do the work. They don't want kids to apply to them who are not really thinking very hard about what they're going to bring to the campus and what they're going to get from learning on that campus. So make sure you include specifics about the college and about yourself. If you have visited live or virtually, it doesn't matter anymore. Be specific. What did you see on that visit? What did you like on that visit? Be specific and mention it. Mention the date, mention the time. Read the student newspaper online. Every college has a student newspaper online. Find events and articles that appeal to you, that make you want to be there, that make you like, oh my God, like I want to be part of this rally that's happening. I want to be part of this like really cool research that they're highlighting in the school newspaper. I want to be part of this fun tradition. Like read and see what's important to that college. What are they talking about in their newspaper? And then imagine yourself there and then show them. And then bring in what you have done in your life that can make you be part of this in their school paper and or in their online, in their campus. Reach out to students on the campus. That's totally okay. If you go in person, ask them some questions. If they're rude to you, like ask somebody else. And if everybody's rude to you, that's probably a good sign of maybe this isn't a good place. If you're having to do it all virtually, reach out to the admissions office and ask them if they have some students who are willing to chat with students. A lot of admissions offices do have that connection. If they say no, go to your major, go to your department and just say, hey, I'm interested in majoring in computer science or anthropology or whatever it is you're interested in. And like, I would really love to talk to some students in your major. Do you have anybody who might be willing to talk to me? If they say yes, great, go for it. Use that. If they say no, then okay, move on. Maybe follow some clubs on social media from that college and then reach out to the students in the direct messages and see if they're okay with talking to you. Just like try to find ways, or just go hang out on the subreddit if they have a subreddit for their college and ask questions. They're not always incredibly receptive to seniors asking questions because they don't want to get overflowed with it. But I have seen seniors make connections that way. Follow the admissions departments on social media. They're putting a lot of what's important to them out there for you. So they are taking a lot of time to think about that, to be resourceful and see what they're saying, what appeals to you that they're doing. Mention something that you noticed in their Instagram account or their TikTok account or whatever social media you follow on Facebook. But, make it sincere. I mean, I'm not saying to like go fake all this. Like this is where you really do the research to make sure this is the college you want to be at. And then look for campus traditions. Find online. A lot of schools talk about that online on their campus traditions. Those social media websites will often talk about them. A lot of times when students go live with colleges, they'll talk about them. But see how you can imagine yourself taking part in these campus traditions. And I'm going to go on with more ideas here. Read the website carefully. The admissions website, the college website. The colleges pretty much tell you exactly what they are looking for in a student. They know what kinds of students they want, and they are telling you, are you that person? If so, you need to tell them why. And if not, maybe it's not a great fit for you, like we talked. Read their mission statement. Does their mission statement as a college, as an institution, mesh with who you are, with your personal mission? Check out classes that look interesting to you, that fit with your major, that fit with what you would like to do. Look at course list on the website. Are there classes you could see yourself attending? Then tell them why. Tell them what would be great about that. Find professors that appeal to you. Maybe even reach out to them if you want to, and then be able to talk about that experience. But really, really spend time on that research. You cannot, these why college essays are not throwaway essays. They're extremely important. We had one mom on on the subreddit on A2C a few years ago, and she was just awesome and she was super helpful. And she kind of got into helping and thinking about the why college essay. And I love what she wrote here, and I just want to share it with you. She wrote, it's often good to look closely at the school website and find an aspect, a club, a particular course, a slogan, a tradition perhaps, that fits into your personality and write about that particular thing. For example, I was really excited when I saw you had a course on the Roman conquest of Britain. I dressed up as Boudica one year for Halloween, and I look forward to arguing about Roman imperialism. So here, I know that you've done the research about the college. You've got this course that I want to take. And I also brought in something about myself, a little personal tidbit about who I am and what I'm interested in. I like to argue. I like to dress up in Roman costumes. So just really interesting things like that about you. I definitely suggest for the Why College essay to take the time to make a chart for every college that has a Why College essay. And the one that I have, and I'll show you, maybe I'll show you at the end because it's too disrupting right now. So you're going to do the school mission statement, the school traditions, the favorite point on the website from your visit, a class that looks interesting, research you want to be involved in, your background, talents, contributions, etc. Any article that catches your attention. So just something, all the things that you find in your research. You don't have to find this about every college, but just as you go through and research the colleges, it can be really helpful to have this chart where you're just writing everything down one by one. So great question. Pointless, Potionless Corrupt says, for CS, most colleges have the same core classes. How is it possible to find something unique? You don't have to mention a class, by the way. I'm just saying that it's one of the many things that you can mention. So if the courses aren't working for you, if the courses all seem the same, no matter where you're going. So what else is appealing to you about this college? What traditions do you like to be in? What do you see yourself doing on that campus? So you don't have to do every single aspect of this. It's what about the college why are you applying basically? And you have to show that you have done the research for that. It's a really great question. I'll stop here. Really Pilly says, do I have this PowerPoint available? Yes, I will tell you all how to get all the information from me after this. Good question. All right, let's see how much more we have. I still have some more things from the Why College essay because it's so important. So, and in this PowerPoint, you'll get the link to this Tulane essay. Tulane has a really long Why College essay. I think it could be up to 8. It used to be, maybe they've changed it this year, up to 800 words. And they really wanted to know that you have taken the time to learn not only about their college, but where it is in New Orleans, and that you were cool with that and being in that city. But I want to read to you what Tufts says because I think it's important. The Why Tufts supplemental essay question may seem pretty straightforward, but be sure to put plenty of thought into it. A good answer to this question will, of course, depend on you and what draws you to Tufts. A quick piece of advice, and this so we need to be thinking about this as you're moving forward with this, is to avoid the features trap. Yes, it's okay and perfectly normal to be drawn to the amenities of a college or university, but we want a better understanding of why you think Tufts is a good fit for you. Rather than focusing on the features, like the residence halls, the bucolic campuses, or the great professors. So when I say talk about professors, I mean really reaching out to one and getting to know one and see if that's somebody you want to learn from. Point to some of the feels. An eye-opening conversation you had with a student. Let's see. The university's liberal arts identity. And I would throw in their mission statement here. The deep civic and political engagement on campus, and so on. You're going to really have to learn the campus, learn the culture. A university is more than just a collection of buildings, clubs, and classes. We want you to be thoughtful with your Why Tufts. And I thought this was important, so I'm going to share this one with you too. Last year when I posted this post, somebody, Forsuka, came on and said she had just gone to a JHU workshop. And so I want to read this to you because I think it's important information also. I went to a supplemental essay workshop with JHU, and the AOs at the workshop, essentially exemplified we didn't even have to mention specific programs about the school, so much so as use the supplement as an opportunity to write another mini personal statement that connects our values and motivations to Hopkins. You don't have to mention any classes or anything. So for Hopkins specifically, you wouldn't want to mention classes. For other schools, I think it can be okay to show that you've done the research. We already know what we have. You're just wasting your words. Unless the specific class you mention is essential to your description and expression of values. And then I have a link to their workshops. So remember, this whole values, mission statement, all of this is super important when you're moving through, and like what you're seeing on their website, what you're seeing in their school newspaper, what you're seeing that they're putting out on their social media, and who you are and who you have been and how you want to connect to that. So even though these why college essays can be super short, they are very important, and they must show that you've given your time, your thought, you've highlighted yourself and done the hard work. And every single word counts, especially if they're really short. All right, so we're done with the why college essay. Moving on to the leadership essay. That's another essay that you might see a lot. Sometimes it's kind of worded a little bit differently, so you need to make sure that you throw in leadership in many ways if they're asking about it. So leadership doesn't necessarily mean that you've been a captain or the president of your class. You know, you don't have to be captain, high school, or president, of anything of your school. Leadership is more than a title. It's about what you do. And I have this like favorite quote. I follow Mark Manson on Instagram, and I really like him, and I suggest you follow him, by the way. But basically what he says, and I didn't have time to look up the exact quote today, so it might be not have the exact words, but it says, leadership is about doing the shit nobody else wants to do. Like, you're just going to like dig in and get it done, right? Like, because you know it's important. You know that things have to happen or the world is just going to become stagnant. So I definitely suggest for the leadership essay, making a chart, thinking about your life in these areas, starting in your own. Are you a leader in your own life? Do you have a job? Like, have you taken the initiative to go out and get a job where you make money and possibly even contribute to your family, or, contribute to your own savings or have your own spending money? Do you make decisions for yourself? Are you kind of beginning to take that leadership role away from your parents in a way and beginning to make decisions for yourself? I'm not saying you have to have a job or make decisions for yourself at this age. You don't. But if you have, that's leadership. That is showing leadership of your own life. You have become a leader of your own life, and you want to talk about that. What about in your family? Are you a leader in your family? First of all, are you a caretaker? Do you care for somebody who's ill? Do you care for the elderly? Do you care for your younger siblings or your younger cousins? When everybody gets together for family holidays, are you the one who's corralling everybody up and getting things organized to play the games? So it can be like on a big level or on just like a day-to-day small level. Does your grandmother live with you? And does she require help doing things that you have to jump up and help her get organized? So there's a lot of ways to be a leader that I want you to think about how you are probably a leader already in your life, and how you how you can highlight that in these essays. Are you a leader among your friends? Are you like the friend mom or the friend dad or the friend parent? The one who kind of takes care of everybody else, the one who, like, when decisions have to be made about what to do, you're the one that everybody kind of comes to and talks like, and kind of makes the final decision. Are you the one who makes sure people get home on time? Are you the one who kind of like corrals everybody up to get something, to go do something? Are you a leader in school? Are you the one? Well, first of all, you might have real leadership positions, and that's awesome. But maybe you don't, and that's also okay. There's all sorts of ways to be a leader in school. You can be a leader in your classroom. You can be the one who gets everybody going when you're in group projects, and like kind of just eventually takes over because you want to make sure things get done and get done well. You could be the one in the classroom who encourages other people to participate. You can be the one in your classroom who speaks up first, and the teacher knows to look to you as a way. You can be a leader by example, by setting a good example of what a good student can be, what a good human in a high school campus can be. And are you a leader in your community? Do you have official titles? Awesome, great if you do. But if you don't, also, what can you do in your community? What have you taken initiative to make changes about in your community? And honestly, you will want to be highlighting your leadership throughout all of the essays, but sometimes specifically they will ask you about their leadership. So you want to kind of make sure that you talk about that and bring it in with your leadership and thinking about all the ways where you are a leader. So the next one we're going to talk about is the extracurricular essay. So first of all, pick one of your extracurriculars. I like to think that you pick the one that, like, you put the most into, your most hours, your most blood, sweat, and tears. Whatever's the most important to you, your school club, your summer activity, your job, your family, your family responsibilities, personal hobby, or choose one, especially for colleges that are like really like to pick, like to do fit for major when they're thinking about acceptances. So you might want to do the one that fits your major the most if you have that. If you don't, no big deal. And then you're going to discuss your history with the activity. So challenges maybe you had with it, obstacles that you've had, lessons that you learned in the activity, and successes that you had. So be sure to describe in detail what you've learned and experienced. It's much less important than like what you did. And then go into why. Like, why is this important to you? Why is this activity meaningful to you? And then you're going to bring it to their campus. How will you take what you have learned from any obstacles or successes, what you've experienced, and how are you going to bring that with you, all those things that you've learned, to the campus? Okay. And then maybe find some similar clubs that you want to be involved in. Or just be sure to take your leadership outside in a different way on their campus, but show how you're going to be a leader on their, well, I got into leader, but it kind of all is about leadership anyway. But you're going to show how you're going to use what you've learned in this extracurricular and bring it to their campus, whether involvement in a specific extracurricular or whether involvement in a larger thing or whether involvement in your major, whatever it is that you're going to do, you want to tie it always back to their campus. So the next one is the why major. I do suggest that you apply with a major, even if you're not completely certain, but I mean, we could talk about that more if you have questions about that. It's okay to change your mind about a major, but just keep in mind that for a lot of colleges, engineering and computer science and business can be harder to get into as a transfer, or sometimes practically impossible, even as an internal transfer. So I suggest that you apply with the major that you really want. But it's okay to know that you could change your mind. But they like to have a clue of like what you're thinking about. So it's important to give them an idea of why you want this major, of course. So you're going to have to do details. So think of it like this way. It's why me and this major at this school. So again, ton of research, ton of in-depth thinking. Why me? Like, and why do I want this major? That's going to go into classes that you've taken in the past, activities you've done in the past, interests you've had in the past, and then how you're going to bring that to their campus. So again, you're creating a picture of you on their campus in this major. Anything that you have done related to your major, you want to bring it in there. Work, jobs, Coursera classes, edX classes, classes at your high school, extracurriculars, anything that you have done who kind of creates you, and then bring it to the campus. And also, it can also be rabbit hole interest if that's something that kind of like ties into it. So then you're going to research the potential major on their campus. And so be looking at classes that you're excited to take. Like really do the research. Don't just like list out classes in the major. Like find classes that fit with your interest. Find professors that you want to take the classes in with. Find research that you might want to do on their campus within your major. Find clubs and activities that you want to be part of on their campus that deal with your major. You're painting a picture of you on their campus. Again, ton of research. These are not just essays you can just toss, like throw down a few things. I played with Legos when I was a kid. So yeah, I'm going to go and be an engineer. Not going to work. They want to know that you've done the hard work to figure out who you are and why you want this major from before and go future. Let's see, I have a question here. Should I relate family circumstances into my why major essay as well if it's applicable? Yes, I would definitely relate it. If it has anything to do with your why major, for sure. Now, the only thing I might say is, and this might be your circumstance. So if you want to be a doctor and you have had like a sick family member, maybe not like a really close family member, like if it's your parents or a sibling or something, but like a sick uncle, sick grandfather, I wouldn't spend too much time talking about that. You could just say like, ever since my grandfather got sick, about that major. But if other things, like if you have to help your parents do all their banking because they don't speak English well, and so that's kind of led you into this love for banking. Yeah, that's a really good detail to add. Or if you're a teacher because you've been, grown up raising your siblings and your cousins and you do a lot of childcare, yeah, I would definitely do that. Yes, I think it's definitely worth mentioning. I don't know that you would spend a ton of time on it, but certainly bring it in. Yeah. Okay, and then another essay they ask is called the community essay. So a lot of colleges want to know more about your community, how you play a part in it, but what they really want to know is what you're going to bring to their campus and to their community. So sometimes community, they can ask about your identity, your perspective, your community. I kind of think of all of those as very similar essays that can be used in a similar way. So just first of all, pick what community, identity, perspective you want to talk about yourself. It can be super small, like within your own family, a sibling. I've seen great essays about siblings, or it can be really large, your country, your religion, your ethnicity, and it can be like a really small club. It can be your friend group. I've had kids write really great community essays about their carpool and like what happens in their carpool every day. So there's all sorts of cool things that you can do. Let's see. Let's see what this is. I'm looking at some specific questions here. Is CS too competitive? My recommenders already wrote about my CS interest, and I'm afraid if I do switch majors on application, it will be hard. I think if you want to be a CS major, you should be a CS major and find the colleges where you can go do that. There's tons of amazing colleges with amazing computer science programs out there. So yeah, you don't need to switch your major on your application. When I was talking about switching majors, I was talking about once you get to college. Roly-poly, UT kind of combines the community and leadership and diversity as one. How would you combine that? So are you talking about UT Austin? Roly-poly? If you're talking about UT Austin, they have a Y major essay, they have a leadership essay, and then they have what are you going to take with our amazing education in the future and go change the world. That's what they do. So the leadership, the second essay, so they have Y major, that's pretty self-explanatory. Then they have like the leadership essay. And basically that one is like, how have you shown leadership in your life before? And how are you going to show it on your campus, in our campus? And yeah, you can tie in the community and diversity into that, but I would focus on leadership because that's what they really care about the most. And then the last essay is like, how are you going to take all this amazing stuff that you've learned from us on our campus and go change the world and make the world a better place? And we can talk more about the UT essays if you want to at the end. All right, community essays more. So how has this community molded you? Have you had any challenges or obstacles because of it? And then the lessons you've learned from it. And then this is super important. How have you impacted your community? And then how are you going to plan to be part of this community on campus? So for example, if you're writing about your ethnicity, that's easy, right? But like the kid who wrote about being in a carpool. So there were 4 kids who'd been in carpool for years and years and years together. And it was like how growing up together and kind of like learning from each other and fighting with these kids and not fighting with those kids. It was a really great essay. But what they did when it was like talked about part of getting to campus was just talking about what they've learned from like being stuck in a car with these people all these years, about learning to communicate with others and learning to listen to others and learning when it was important to be quiet and just be okay with silence. And how they're going to take those skills and use them on campus with their friend groups in their dorm, in classes. You're kind of stuck with a lot of other people in college frequently, and like how to use those skills that they learned. So it doesn't have to be something super specific. It's really whatever appeals to you, what you want to share. Do your research, figure out what they offer, figure out what you're bringing, kind of a broken record here. All right, the additional info essay. I do want to spend a little time here, and I'm going to try to go fast so we can get through everything. But the additional info essay, you have 650 words on the additional info. I highly suggest using it if you have additional info to share. If you don't use it. It's no big deal if you don't use it. Like, I'm not saying you have to use it at all. A lot of times kids have so many ECs that they need to add on, and important ones. that they need to add on. If you want to do that, like if you like can't just limit it to 10 and you have 15, then what I suggest you do is just take 5 and take those other 5, format them exactly like you would for the Common App and stick them in the additional info, and then just say activities that weren't listed in the activities section. If you have one activity that you feel like they really need to know a lot more about, and there's no way you could get all to it in the activities section, and they don't have an activities essay, an EC essay, what you can do is in that activity, you can say, see additional info for more, and then write either one of 2 things. Either write a little YEC essay, maybe you've already written it for another class or for another school, or you can just do a bullet points of like what the important things are. So you can use it for expanding on an EC. If you have like a particularly compelling reason to attend a college, like why this is absolutely the right college for you, and like you feel like your application won't be complete for this particular college unless they know like what your compelling reason is, and they don't ask a why college essay, you can make a little mini why college essay and put it in there. Don't do that indiscriminately. Like, don't just do it for every college, because it won't come off as legitimate. It won't come off as sincere. And that will really annoy the college admissions. So it has to be like a really sincere, really strong connection for some reason that like you just feel like they won't understand who you are if you can't share with them why it's important for you to be on this college campus. Other reasons to write an additional info essay, and this is usually the most common one, that life kind of sucks sometimes, and this is your time to share your story that you might not want to use your personal essay space for. So sometimes you just have to be able to explain the circumstances of your life. And believe me, I have heard it again and again and again. Colleges want to know about your specific circumstances. They want to understand the context of your application. If there's a blip in your transcript, if you suddenly one semester made a bunch of C's and D's and you had been an A, B student every other semester, and that was the semester that your mom got really sick and you were taking her back and forth to the hospital and taking care of your siblings, they need to understand that. Like, they need to know, because they don't have any other way of knowing if you don't tell them. Good idea to ask your college counselor to supplement that too. But it doesn't make them feel sorry for you. And it doesn't make them think, oh, they're just trying to tell me a sob story. You're just trying to tell them the truth about what happened. That's all it is. So this is your life, and they need to know it, and they want to know it. Now, again, it's your life. And if you don't want to share, that's on you. You don't have to. Nobody's forcing you to. You can hold it in on your own, okay, and not share it. But they won't know about your challenges unless you share them. It's one thing to think about. If you have had challenges in your life, if you have had obstacles, you should be proud of the fact that you're sitting here right now, whether you're here with me live or you're watching later, and that you are going to make it through, and that you're already at this stage of thinking about applying to college is pretty amazing. And that is an accomplishment on its own. I feel like the additional info section is really the place to share whatever it is that you feel like they need to know. And that can be expanding on your ECs, and I'll go into that a little bit more. That can be using it for a why college very discriminately, or it can be telling them more about your life circumstances. And so that's what you do. Now, I'm going to answer this question here. If I expand on multiple C's in the additional info section, would that be looked down upon negatively? If it feels like you're doing it without a whole lot of reason, yeah, for sure. Like if you're not really giving them anything they didn't get already in the activities section. I mean, they give you that activity section for a reason, and they give you those word limits and character limits for a reason. So if you're not like adding anything to your application, yeah, they're going to wonder why you're using it. But if you have done like stuff that they really need to know about in order to understand who you are, then no, it won't be looked down upon negatively. They're going to be happy that you shared with them. So I wouldn't expand. By expand, I'm not sure what you mean. So I'm going to assume 2 different things. You could mean like adding on 5 or 6 additional activities. I wouldn't do more than 4 or 5, to be honest. and only real important activities to you, I would do. Now, if you mean expand on, like take 2 or 3 or 4 and say see more, see additional info for more, I wouldn't do that for more than 3 of them. And I wouldn't do very much. I would make each pretty small, 100 words or so, just to get in the additional things about it. You have to be conscious of their time while you're balancing the importance of you to be able to share everything, share what you need to share. And that's a balance. All right, for the engagement essay, like how did you engage with one of the college's core values? Should I focus on one particular story or several? It doesn't really matter, honestly. That's a good question. I should have saved that one for the end, so when we got to the end. But I think, yeah, I don't think it really matters. If you have one story that really connects with their core value, awesome, go for it. If you have a few, then you can do it. And that's totally and entirely up to you, as long as you're exemplifying that you understand what their core values are. And I would also kind of go into, like, maybe at the very end, like how you plan to do it in the future on their campus. All right, let's see. Additional info. This is the whole thing about if you do want to tell about life contacts, if you've had troubling experiences in your life, and I have a whole huge post about that, and you do want to share it to explain. So let's say, eating disorders, mental health issues, death in the family, whatever has happened that you need to explain because there was a big drop in grades, or maybe you had a school change because of it, whatever you might need to reason for. Always think about writing from your scars, not your wounds. And I like to call it like thinking about more phoenix, less ashes. So you want to show them how you have risen from this obstacle, these circumstances in your life. So 10% just explaining the story, like this is what it is, this is what happened. Don't go into big detail. You don't need to do that. 90% on your growth, on what you have learned about yourself, and how you are going to be a stronger, better college person because of these experiences. And you'll get these slides to read this. If you have disciplinary issues and you need to talk about them, you're going to have to, if they ask you, and you have to say yes, if you've been suspended or been arrested or for whatever possible reason. I know it happens. I hear from and talk to kids from all over the world who've had these issues. So again, the same thing. Very, very briefly and concisely explain the situation. 10% of your essay. And don't blame anyone else. Take responsibility. 90% on you, the Phoenix, how you've grown, what you've learned, how you have developed, and how you are going to be a better, stronger college person on their campus. COVID-19, I'm not going to go too much into that, but if you have a COVID-19 issue and you need to talk about it, if you were caring for family, if you had COVID-19 yourself and it caused your grades to drop, if you were caring for family members, if somehow like Zoom just really, really didn't work for you in a major way, like maybe you just couldn't get the technology in your house, or, maybe you have, a very like small 1-room house where there was like no way everybody could be using like Zoom calls all at the same time and it affected your grades. Talk about that. Let them know. I mean, you guys were impacted by COVID probably more than anyone else, honestly, the other previous years. And I hope colleges are going to be aware of that and sensitive to that. But if you had issues, especially if they show up on your transcript, then it's okay to talk about that. Yes, I will be sharing the link to this PowerPoint, and you can go through and read all of these. But you have links here. I can't in these way that I share here, open my links, but you'll be able to read what all these college deans said about that back in 2020. And then, so do talk about family illness, household disruptions, family parent job loss. Maybe you had to get a job because your parents lost their jobs. Limited access to reliable technology, no space to actually do your work, additional family responsibilities because maybe your parents were, frontline workers, and so they were having to be out there working the whole time, and so you were the one who was taking care of everybody at home. Probably not a good idea to talk about just being bored, how your internet went out, and so you couldn't really play with your friends. This is from old, but how the stores ran out of toilet paper. You know, how you did so much Netflix binging that your neck hurt. Like, it has to be real legitimate issues that you had. And then the final thing I'm going to say before I totally open up to the questions is you can reduce, reuse, and recycle your essays. This is why I like you to use those charts that I was showing you in the beginning. How many Y college essays do you have? How many Y major essays do you have? How many, like leadership essays do you have? Because the parts about you, and remember I said the parts about you should only be about you. They cannot be, if you could interchange your name for any other kid, it's not just about you. So make sure it's that specific. That's going to stay the same in your essays. But the college part is definitely going to change, right? So like you'll be changing out the college parts about like their mission statements, their traditions, their school newspapers that you read, their classes, their professors, their research opportunities. All of that is going to change, obviously, but you could certainly reuse the part about you. So don't hesitate to kind of get a formula that works for you when you're writing these essays as you're thinking about them. And then just be very careful that you do all the research for the college, and that shows it as you're recycling your essay. Do not write a one-size-fits-all essay that can go for every college. That won't work. And absolutely do not use the wrong name of the college if you're copying and pasting. That is like the kiss of death for some colleges. If you do it, though, I have good news. Colleges understand that people make mistakes. So just as soon as you catch it, like let's say you write Oregon State for the University of Oregon. And if you do it, just send a really quick, what I call an oops email saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Please, I sent you the wrong essay. Please read this essay and send them the essay. It's okay. You can reach out to me if that happens. I'll walk you through it. All right. So we're going to take another minute and we're going to breathe now because we've got all of the snow globe snow going everywhere. So we're going to just do one breath this time, but because I need it. So we're going to breathe in and breathe out. And now I'm going to open it up to questions. And I think, I can hang out here for a little while. So I think I'll be able to answer your questions as we go. Let's see. I'm going to look up and see which ones. I think I answered this one, but I can come back to it if you want. Engagement essay. Oh, I answered that one. Okay, here. I'm an international student from a school where no one really applies to the U.S. So my teachers and school administration don't know enough about the whole process. Should I mention that in the additional info? Yeah, you can do that, but just really briefly because like there's tons and tons and tons of international students who have very similar circumstances. But yeah, I would, maybe just one or two lines about it. I wouldn't write a whole essay about it. Just basically what you said here, to me. Like one or two colleges, like one or two kids go a year, or nobody has ever gone, or whatever you want to say. I think that's some context that might be helpful to them, especially if they're not getting it from your school profile. All right. What are college core values and how to connect them to you? So they usually will tell you what their core values is. If they're asking that question, they'll usually have a link to like, these are our core values, or you can find them on our website. And then you go read them and then you connect them to you. And again, finding a story is probably the best way to do it, and like how you have lived your life and then how you want to live your life on their campus. Not every college has that essay, but it definitely happens. Link to the PowerPoint. Yes, I'm definitely going to give you a link to the PowerPoint. I'm going to give it later on. Okay. Any tips on how to address Dartmouth's prompt, be yourself? Oscar Wilde advised, everyone else is taken. Introduce yourself in 200 to 250 words. Okay. First of all, I love this prompt. I love this quote. And I think that's the one where they're really just saying to you, like, we just want to kind of get to know who you are. So take something that you haven't talked about in the personal essay. And in this one, I would pick something that like you like to spend time doing, that you're super curious about, something that like the essential of you. Like one question I love to ask my students is like, what's your secret sauce? So Mamtere, what is your secret sauce? What makes Mamtere Mamtere? That's a really hard word to say, by the way. what is it that like something kind of interesting about you that like, if that wasn't part of you, then you wouldn't be you. And honestly, like, I can't give you like one certain way to do this essay because that would defeat the purpose of the whole prompt, right? Like, it's just about you and what you don't worry about being super unique because that's impossible because you already are unique. Like, what is inside your head that you like to think about, or what is something that you do that like is just essential to being you? I don't know if that's going to really answer that question. So if you want to be more specific to me, that's fine. Let's see. Do you think I should write a few drafts of my YS or Y major essays, or should I just write it once and give it a few lookovers? I think that's entirely up to you and your satisfaction level with your writing. I'm a big believer in don't let the perfect get in the way of the good. You're never ever going to get a perfect draft of any essay. So like write it once. Does it say what you want to say? Then yeah, if you're comfortable with it, send it on. I will tell you this right now while we're at it, because you're at my live stream or you're watching it videoed later. I do read, for those of you who don't know this, I think probably a lot of you do it, but I do read personal essays and supplemental essays. I do 5-minute essay review. I'll give you the link to find that from me too in a second. But you have to follow my guidelines. I will not read them if you don't follow my guidelines. But if you write it and you feel pretty good about it and you feel comfortable and you just want me to take a quick look, I will. And I'm super blunt. And if I don't feel like you've gotten personal enough about yourself, if I don't feel like you're painting a picture of who you are on their campus, even for the Y major essays, I'm going to tell you, believe me. All right. I'm having trouble writing about leadership and community values activities. I've listed them all out and tried to pick one and write, but I feel like it's just not working. Any advice? So I think that writing about leadership, I like to see my students take this tiered approach, like I showed you, where you start with yourself and the leadership you show within your own life, jobs, decision making, however you feel like you're a leader of your own life. Maybe you don't. Maybe your parents are still controlling everything you do, so you skip that level. Then leadership within your family, then leadership within your classroom, leadership within your friends, leadership within your school, leadership within your community. I like to see my students kind of take it and kind of show that like those tiers of their levels of leadership. And that can be a nice way to structure the leadership. And then you can talk about the lessons you've learned, obstacles you've had as a leader, any successes you've had as a leader, and then how you're going to take those and use them on the college campus. Does that help at all? Or is that like, I don't have a formula for it. And I would never, ever give you a formula for these essays. And the reason I don't show you sample essays that worked, just like with personal essays, is because I don't want you to be thinking about it like a formula. The best essays I see that are these supplemental essays are either students who are very straightforward and they just answer the question, which is totally good. I mean, that's really all they're asking you to do. Or students who have like thought about it in a different way and kind of like put it together in their own head in a different way. But like, I wouldn't show you those because it wouldn't work for you, right? And if you're just like a super straightforward person like I am, like just answering the question is enough. Like they're not looking for anything fancy. So the Dartmouth one is just so open-ended, I can't figure out where to start. So just think about like, what is the essence of me? If this wasn't part of me, I wouldn't be who I am. And it can either be something you do, something you think, some essence of who you are. And I wouldn't go like, this is not the time to like really be thinking about ethnicity. Well, I mean, if you want to, you can. It doesn't really matter. But I would do more like inside you, like what's happening in your brain. Every day I go every morning at 5 a.m. I get up. I hate running, but every morning at 5 a.m. I get up and go for a run because I know that like I have to do the thing I hate the most in the morning before I start. And that's the way I live my life. Whatever it is about you, I always eat my Brussels sprouts first because I hate Brussels sprouts. But think about you. What counts as interest to a major, and how does that interest connect to the department or the college? How to connect the interest to the department. So interest to a major. I mean, I don't know what you really mean, but like when I say your interest, like stuff that you do, is that what you mean? Like your interests or showing them interest? I'm going to come back to that one. Yes, I will come back to UT Austin. Let me get to going on these. There's just so many things which make me me. I genuinely can't figure out. So pick 3, the top 3 that create the recipe of the secret sauce of Monterey. Still kind of confused on the, UT Austin. Yeah, okay. You told me about that the other day. I'm glad you don't do that. You told me, are you talking to me? Okay. College of Arts and Sciences, if I have 2 interests, do I have to connect those 2 interests together or I can just write them separately? These have 650 word limits. I'm confused about what you're asking. Oh, good. Monterey. College of Arts and Sciences, if I have 2 interests, do I have to connect those 2 interests together or can I just write them separately? They have 650 word. And so what are they? Oh, are you talking about UT Austin? I'm so confused. No, that's not 650 word limits. Oh, yeah. Totally. Yes, it's not helpful. Okay, what is the best format or way to submit a music piece with my college application, which will be needed for the context of my Common App essay? If you're not applying for a music major and they're not asking for that, I think it's going to be really hard to do that. More than likely, they're not going to click on a link. They're not going to click on anything. Your Common App needs to just be there on its own without having like its own. You don't want them to have to look away to see something to understand your Common App essay, your personal essay. I wouldn't do that, to be honest. Okay, you're talking about Cornell, the why Cornell College Arts and Sciences. If I have 2 interests, do I have to connect those 2 interests together? So can you write 2 essays? I'm still kind of confused. I have to look at those essays, but yeah. I have to connect this. You can, if you want to, you can connect them together. If you have like 2 majors or something, or you can do them into like 2 separate paragraphs. If you have 650 words, that might work. Okay. Let's see. I know it's not essays, but multiple schools have art supplements. I'm applying for CS, but I also have big visual arts as a big hobby of mine. I can share a link later. Should I submit anything? I think that's going to be school to school question. Like if you want to be an art major, what I have found is that sometimes like they're probably not going to go to a website because they've been trained not to link on websites, although sometimes they do. Sometimes what my students do is they make either a LinkedIn account where they have all their art if they're not applying as an art major, or they make an Instagram account where they put all their art because that feels safer for them to go look at it than just some random website that you're putting out there. So those could be things that you do to be able to show your art if you want them to see it. I've had students do that either for art or for a big hobby, or, I have one who fostered cats and wrote a lot about fostering cats and taking care of cats. And so she had an Instagram account where, she kind of showed how to take care of the cats and had the kittens, and it was very cute. Yeah. Okay. So 1 essay, 650 words. I think if you could combine the interest is probably good. I'm going to go back to talk about the UT essays for a second. I know that maybe just one person, but you can probably get a little bit about this. So for UT Austin, I have a lot of students who apply to UT Austin because I live in Texas. It's really, really important that for every essay you write for them, it's about fit to major. UT Austin cares a lot about fit to major. So for the why major essay, that's easy. It's about why you want to be in this major and what you're going to do there. So all the stuff that we talked about already. For the leadership essay, I still want to see you combine your leadership into your major somehow. So like the leadership that you've had, how are you going to take that leadership that you've had, even if it's captain of the soccer team and you want to go major in CS? Like, how are you going to take that leadership that you've had and apply that into what you're going to do on campus at UT? What are they going to learn about you? How are you painting a picture of yourself in the role of a leader on their campus? So in clubs, in the community, in the, CS department soccer team you're going to put together, whatever it is that you want to do. But you want to make sure that you basically also always come back to your major for UT Austin. And then in the third essay, though, how are you going to go make the world a better place? Figure out something you want to change that definitely relates to your major. So, I had a student who wanted to major in real estate. And so the idea of going over how to, she really had problems with the housing industry. So she wanted to make changes in the housing industry. So even though she wanted to major in real estate and major in business and make money, she had these ideas for what to do in the future with the housing industry and how to try to fix that within the business world. So think about the change that you want to get. So the classes you're going to take on their campus and the research you're going to do on their campus, the clubs you're going to do on their campus, and how you're going to take that and use that to make the world a better place, because that UT cares a lot about that. But I recommend talking about major and topic A. I see topic A as the same as your Common App essay. My students who apply to UT, which is over half of them, all just do their topic A as their Common App essay. And it's about whatever they want to talk about themselves in their high school years and how they've grown from that. If it fits in with the major, great. If that's what they want to talk about. If it doesn't, that's also cool. I don't think it has to be about the major as much in topic A, but definitely the 3 questions do. And if you can tie it into the major somehow, if it at least fits into your values, for sure, make it fit. Okay. I would be happy to go over Cornell's engineering prompts if you throw them into the prompt for me, because I don't have them memorized like I do the UT ones. I find that the MIT short ones can be really hard. So what I suggest doing is get that chart out where you have traditions, mission statement, what I read in the school paper, class I might want to take, all that stuff. And maybe not even class for that one, their values, and then who you are, and then connect those together. Don't worry about fitting into the word limit at first. Just write it and then just cut until you get to that really good word limit. So if you try to write 150 words, it's going to be impossible. You won't really get into the nitty gritty of what you need to share, because again, you're going to be sharing who you are and painting a picture of who you are on that campus. So get your details, get your research done, get everything that you need, then write it. Maybe it's going to be 300 or 400 words, then cut it. That's what I have my students do with their MIT essays. Let's just see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. The only thing I'm going to tell you really, Polly, for UT is make sure that you don't talk about anything about your childhood, about middle school. They really are very specific that they only want to hear about high school. And so I read so many personal essays where kids start with an anecdote about their childhood. I really don't like reading about those for any college essays, period. But for UT, you definitely don't want to. Last question. I meant for schools that have an art supplement section in their application, you submit a file. Would it be helpful to submit any art even if I'm applying to CS? I'd call up the admissions office and ask them. Some colleges, it might be helpful. And some colleges, they would feel like it was a waste of time. So that's just a question, school by school by school, which is the answer to most questions about college, stuff like that. I know that RIT has a supplement that asks, if you could add one major to our school, what would it be called and what classes would it be cool? I love that question. That is such a good question. So it's going to show that you've done your research, right? That you what all their majors are. And then what basically they're asking you, this is what they're asking you. What is your interest? What are you interested in? And how do you want to share that interest? So a lot of colleges have something, Pitzer had a similar one, Reed had a similar one, where it's if you could teach any class, what class would it be? So this is kind of the thing. So think about what it is that you want to learn more about. And it might be, maybe they have CS and you want to be a CS major. So let's go more specific, CS focused on, the Animaniacs from 1999 to 2010, right? And learning the digital animation of that. You might have to go really specific if they have the major you want. And then you would kind of create and have fun with the classes that you would teach or that would be there. And then maybe even what would be in the syllabus of it. That, I think that's a really great essay. essay prompt. Yeah, definitely go explain your choices and be creative if they give you the space. How do your interests directly connect with Cornell engineering? If you have an intended major, what draws you to that department? Okay, so they're asking you, like, what have you done in the past? What classes have you taken? What activities have you done? What kind of gets your attention in your brain? And how are you going to use that in Cornell? This is a why major essay. That's all it is. And if you have an intended major, what that is. So I recommend that you go back and look at my post or either this supplemental essay PowerPoint that I can share with you. But basically, it's a why major essay. What have you done? What classes have you taken? What experiences have you had? What extracurriculars have you done? What activities have you done? What kind of thought process have you had in your life? And how are you going to use that to be this major on our campus? Okay? It may be helpful to concentrate on one or two things that you're most excited about. Is that what they say? Yeah. So then click one or two of those things. Then just follow what they're saying. And then they just want you to really go into details. All right. A follow-up on short YS essays. So should we only talk about the school's offering or avoid tying it to ourselves? No, I think you need to tie it to yourself. Like why that school offering is special for you. It's always about making the match. You're like falling in love with the college and you're writing them a love letter to let them know why you love them so much, even if it's short. Like even in a haiku, right? Like you can talk about like, you can have like part of you and part of me, like why we need to go together. 250 word limit, by the way. Do I mention their clubs? If they're interesting to you, if that's part of what you want to do on their campus, if that's part of why you want to be an engineering major, there is no one formula. There is no one right or wrong way to go about this. It's what is it about you and why do you want to be there? So like if those clubs are a big part of what's drawing you there, then yeah, mention them. If they're not, then no. All right. Last minute questions. Do we have any? Let me see if I can let's see if I'm going to try to see if I can find this. I'm going to put the link to it, to the PowerPoint for you. So let me share it. And then hopefully you'll be able to see it here. Well, it's not a PowerPoint, but there we go. I guess you'll have to copy and paste it. I don't think we can put links. And then the other thing is, those of you who don't have this, if you email me at admissionsmoma2c@gmail.com and don't just send me your essays because I have very specific guidelines that you have to follow for me to read them. So if you don't already have those guidelines from me, make sure you send me an email and say, hey, Admissions Mom, came to your live stream. Would love for you to read my essay. Can you please send me the guidelines? And then put in the heading like guidelines needed or something. And so then I'll send them to you. I read essays on that email address on the weekends, usually Fridays and Saturdays, sometimes Mondays if I have time. I don't get to all of them every weekend, so don't send them to me if you're in a big hurry. Give yourself plenty of time to get feedback. And then there's a lot of other guidelines for you to read as far as like how to format it and what I'm looking for in order to do it. But then I do these 5-minute reviews, and I think they're really helpful because I don't know you. And the other person on the other side of the screen when they're reading your essay is also not going to know you, and they're also not even going to give you 5 minutes. So I think that first impression that I get can be really helpful, and then I'll give you notes. I am super blunt. If you don't like bluntness, if you don't want somebody to tell you that like they don't like what you did, I don't usually say it like that, but sometimes it can feel like that. I'm not a good person to share essays with because like if I feel like it needs to be completely revamped and completely changed, I'm going to tell you. Otherwise, I'm just going to give some suggestions. All right. Okay. So yes, I have the essay review. So for your personal essay, I will review your essays. up to 3 times, personal essay up to 3 times. I don't think the supplements need that much. 1 time is probably enough. I do recommend, like, I don't like reading the same essay over and over. So if you write it for like every college, like just write it for one and let me look at it after don't like, and let me look at it before you write it for all the others. But like, I don't need to see the same essay of the about you part over and over and over. So kind of just be conscious of my time too. Let's see. What is your advice on writing Stanford's roommate letter in addition to Penn's thank you note essay? Penn's thank you note essay, I really feel like is just that. I mean, I think it's a time for you to show your values about what's important to you. I don't think it needs to fit your major. I've read a lot that they've been saying about it, and I really feel like they did want you to take this opportunity for gratitude, just to take some time and life has been really kind of shitty for the last few years, and just to take some time and think about the good things in life. I do a gratitude post, and this might help you as you're thinking about it, every year on Ivy Day. And so you can look in my post history on Reddit or on my blog. I also talk about it there. But it might be helpful to look at the one on Reddit and see, because every year the kids I'm like, this is a really stressful day for many of you. Like, let's stop and take a minute and talk about what we're grateful for, what the good things in our life are. And the kids over the years, and I think I've got them all there, have come up with some amazing responses of like just stopping and taking a minute and thinking about what they're grateful for. One thing that could be kind of interesting is you could write to a person for sure, because there are amazing people doing amazing things for you in this world. Maybe you can also write to inanimate objects. Dear chocolate ice cream, like, thank you so much for like comforting me on the worst days of my life, particularly Baskin and Robbins, and what I want to do, things like that. So you can be clever with it if you want to. Penn's up for that. Stanford roommate essay. I have seen so many interesting Stanford roommate essays, and there is not one formula for it. A couple of things. Be yourself. Use your voice. Do not try to figure out what they're looking for. And I do like to see that you have done some research about Stanford. You throw in something about the campus or something about coming back from this class, or, not in a way like, I can't wait to take Dr. So-and-so's class, but like, hey, just know that when I get back from Professor, Mr. Rocky's class on learning more about rocks, I might be exhausted. So maybe I'll just come in and take a nap. Like, it's just like an aside, just like throw in little details, like details all the way through. Let's see. Approximately how long does it take you to review an essay after it's been sent? It really totally, absolutely depends on my life. Right now, my life has been really crazy because of not just work with college admissions, but also other things going on in my life. So it's taking 1 to 2 weeks. I try not to ever have it take more than 2 weeks, but I'm not saying that that's never happened. Sometimes I read them the same day you send them. So I recommend sending them as soon as you can, and getting in line, because when I sit down and read, like yesterday, I sat down and read for 4 hours. Like, anybody who sent them to me, probably didn't get to yours from Thursday because I was catching up from the week before, but like, I probably won't read again until Tuesday or maybe Monday. I don't know. Like, it just kind of depends, because my weekends have been so hectic that my reading time, my weekends will calm down pretty quickly. And I will be very focused on it. So I would say sometimes I read them that day or within a few days, and sometimes it's 2 weeks. If you don't hear back from me in a week or so, I definitely recommend reaching out to me either on Reddit or Instagram, or you can try by email. But the problem is sometimes they do get stuck in my junk mail. And so we want to make sure that doesn't happen. Question. I sent one to you this Thursday from another email. Okay. If so, when can I think I answered that. Okay, thank you. All right. Any other last minute questions before we sign off for today? Thank you all for sticking with me, for finding me, even after we got a little bit lost this morning. I really appreciate it. Any other last minute questions for you to share before we sign off for today? And thanks for coming today. Thanks for learning more about the supplemental essays. I am around for questions. Yeah, sure. You can always send me your use that same Potionless Corrupt says, is it possible for me to send you ideas? And yes, absolutely. That email, admissionsmom826, is the best one to send me by email. You can DM me on Reddit, admissionsmom. You can DM me on Instagram at admissionsmom. All of those are pretty easy ways to get in touch with me, and I respond pretty quickly to all of those. So for sure. You can also go to my website. So I don't know if those of you have found this, but you're very welcome, those of you who are saying thank you. I have this website, admissionsmom.college, and on there, you can email me there too, but sometimes they get lost, the emails. But you can find all my posts, all my blogs are there, and like everything about my philosophy is there. Oh, and also like there, I think the link to my book is old there. On my Reddit post, on my Reddit, my personal Reddit profile, I've made a post that has links to all my posts. And in there, you can find like all the posts kind of organized in a way that might be helpful for you. I also have a link to an updated version of my book, the PDF form of it. So if you want to read that, I just went through and kind of totally redid it. I'm not selling it. I'm just putting it on PDF form. But you could find that there. And yes, feel free to reach out. There's lots of ways to get in touch with me. I really appreciate you all for being here. Look forward to reading your essays and learning more about you. I'm going to sign off now. So bye, everybody. It was great to see you. See you later.